The following program does not offer personal medical advice. Please consult your doctor before using any treatment or product we cover. Welcome to Go to Health Media with your host, Jonathan Marks. We provide a welcoming environment where experts educate you on important health topics, answer your questions, and provide information from which you can benefit in consultation with your doctor. You can visit and subscribe to the show at gotohealthmedia.com. And now, here is Jonathan Marks. Hey everyone, Jonathan Marks with you. Welcome back to another show of Go to Health. Our goal is to educate you about common and not so common health problems with evidence-based information from health experts. I want to underline evidence-based. The information we share with you is based on evidence, not rumor, not social media posts, not unproven guesses. We encourage you to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast channel, YouTube, or our website at gotohealthmedia.com. That way you won't miss any of our fascinating and fact-filled information interviews. Parents, I want you to think for a moment about your kids. What is the most common chronic childhood disease in the United States? I'll give you a second to think about this. This is an easy answer, though maybe not obvious. Would you believe it's tooth decay? 5 times more common than asthma. This is important. Tooth decay affects not only teeth, but a child's nutrition, speech development, and self-esteem. The good news is tooth decay is preventable and in many cases reversible. Our guest today is here to share important tips for parents to ensure their children are set up for a lifetime of good oral health. The American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry, the leading national authority on children's oral health, shares the important role fluoride plays in tooth decay prevention, including making teeth more resistant to cavities, which can safeguard our children's future. Please welcome Dr. Scott Smith, President of the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry, the nation's leading association of dental specialists committed to optimal oral health for all children. He is also affiliated with the University of Michigan School of Dentistry. Welcome to the show, Dr. Smith. Glad to have you here, especially at this time when the safety of fluoridated water and fluoride is coming into question at the national level. Maybe it's been there for a while. We'll get to that. But my first question is, why is tooth decay the most common chronic childhood disease in the United States? What's happening here?
Well, thank you, Jonathan. I'm happy to be here. The reason that's the most common illness or disease in the United States is because of the frequency of diet and oral habits. So our mission at the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry is optimum oral health for all children. And the best way to do that is to establish a routine from the very, very beginning. So we like to see kids within the first year of life, preferably when the first tooth are up, or certainly by age 1. And that's where you can talk about what the cause of cavities is, how it progresses, and what we do to prevent it. And the most effective way to prevent it, and the cheapest, is a fluoride-containing toothpaste. So we recommend that with the first tooth coming through, we start brushing those teeth and introducing a small amount, about half a grain of rice for a 1-year-old and maybe a full grain of rice for a 2 to 3-year-old of a fluoride toothpaste applied each night and each morning, twice a day. It's a very easy process. But kids will learn that's part of the routine of self-care. And it becomes a habit that will set them up for their entire life in a very positive way.
Great. So why is fluoride important when it comes to preventing tooth decay, and what are the different ways children can get fluoride?
Well, let's go backwards to that first visit I was talking about. One of the things we talk about at that first visit is how cavities are formed. Whenever we eat any complex carbohydrate, which is basically all food, people think of it as just candy and sugar, and it's everything. Mm-hmm. It reacts to the bacteria that's in all of our mouths to produce an acid. And that acid demineralizes the teeth. So every time we eat something, there's about a 20-minute acid attack. Doesn't matter how much you have, but how often you have it is the key. So when we have that acid attack, fluoride comes in and binds to the tooth and brings the calcium back in. That's how it works. And that's why it's more effective. It's essentially healing from the acid attack. So if we can stop that cavity from ever starting, I don't have to fix it. I don't have to prevent it. And that's what we're trying to do. So we talked to the parents about how we're going to limit the exposure. One of the problems that we see, and it breaks our heart every time we see it, is if a child sleeps with a bottle or nurses at night, the tongue comes forward and pools the milk on the back of the front teeth. It reacts with that bacteria I mentioned, and that just creates an acid that dissolves the teeth. And we'll have kids come in under 2, and all 4 of their front teeth are just dissolved from nursing it with that bottle at night. Wow. That's what we want to prevent by talking about how diet is a big component of prevention that parents can do. So when we have kids who run around the house with a sippy cup full of juice, even if it's diluted juice, that will have acid going all day long. But if we can limit their snacks to controlled 1 or 2 between breakfast and lunch, and 1 or 2 between breakfast or lunch and dinner, then we're really doing our part in keeping that acid exposure down.
Got it. And when you talked before about fluoride bringing the calcium back into the teeth, where does that come from? Is that just in the body, or what's happening?
Calcium is in our saliva. It naturally is in our saliva. One of the foods that's really effective is cheese, because there's a lot of calcium in cheese. And to some degree, it's less cariogenic than others because it doesn't cause dental decay.
Got it. And so there's a national discussion recently about the safety of fluoridated water or fluoride. Can you share with us the facts? What evidence is there that water with fluoride is unsafe, or what evidence is there that it improves dental health? I know you just talked about that, but let's talk about the balance between these two.
This is a discussion that's been going on for decades, but it's recently got a lot of attention for a number of reasons. But we know from those decades and large-scale public health studies, it is very safe in low dosage. In the United States, we fluoridate water, and 70% of the United States has fluoridated water to 0.7 parts per million. Put that into reference. If you had of $14,000, 0.7 parts per million would represent 1 penny. That's how small amount it is. But that's proven to be effective when we compare fluoridated cities to unfluoridated cities, and the cavity rates from similar social economic demographics. Fluoride seems to be very effective and very safe, because we can compare the health of those communities. In areas where fluoride has been taken away, within a number of years, hospitalizations going up, illnesses going up, absence from schools going up, and all of the negative things. So we know that it's safe in low dosage. What's getting a lot of attention now is there have been a number of studies, none of them done in the United States, because our fluoride level is so low. They're all done overseas, where it's naturally occurring at levels multiples higher than ours in the United States. And that is showing to have some potential problems, but they need to factor out other issues, heavy metal poisoning, air pollutants, and they're in rural areas that have other factors that might be influencing. We haven't seen the data to divine those out, but it's raising some concern in high dosage. But what we do, there is no concern at all. It's a very safe way to help prevent cavities.
Great. Thank you for laying that out for us. And I just want to underline, and this is what we really emphasize on this show, is evidence-based medicine. And what Dr. Smith has just gone through is the evidence that proves that fluoridation of water and fluoride toothpaste, because it's so low, at least in the United States, that it really is safe. Do the benefits of fluoridated water outweigh risks, Doctor?
Absolutely. When we think of cities that have taken it out, and I mentioned hospitalizations, I mentioned missing school days, they absolutely outweigh the risks. And we're looking at ways to look if it's still going to be effective, even lower doses. We're constantly monitoring that. And right now at 0.7 parts per million seems to be the sweet spot where we prevent decay, but have absolutely no side effects with it. And even the study that was in the press recently showed at levels multiples higher than ours, shows no effect at all. So the study that everybody's referencing even says at our level, we're fine.
Great. And when you talk about hospitalizations, what do you mean? What kind of hospitalizations?
Do you remember I talked to you about that patient with nursing decay, early childhood caries?
Yes.
When you have 4 baby teeth across your front teeth that are decayed down and eroded away, that can lead to an abscess and facial infection and facial cellulitis.
Oh, wow.
Those are the kind of hospitalizations we see. And the only way we can fix it is under general anesthesia. And those sorts of things are bringing it in. It leads to immune problems with inflammation throughout the whole body. So the oral cavity is not independent of the whole body. So what goes on there will affect other areas. It also leads to pain, craniofacial pain, where they can interrupt school and all sorts of growth and development.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I know we usually think of our mouths and our teeth just as our teeth, but it really is part of a whole health system, isn't it?
It is, and that goes back to the first dental school that went to the first one a medical school and said, let's join up. And the medical school said, no, we don't, we want to stay separate. And it's been that way ever since.
Okay. All right. Too bad. Okay. So let's go on to better news. When should a child have their first dental visit? And what happens if you don't take your child to the dentist at an early age?
Well, what I earlier mentioned, we like to see the kids at 1. And the reason is we talk about diet and we talk about the proper way to use fluoride and where fluoride can be accessed. It's in the water and for 70% and 0.7 parts per million. It's in fluoride in most toothpastes. You can buy fluoride-free toothpaste, but we recommend some that are fluoridated. Another is oral rinses over the counter. And then at your pediatric dentist can apply a high concentration of fluoride varnish that gets deep into the enamel of the tooth. Those are the things we're doing early for kids to set them up for a lifetime. But we don't see every child early as much as we'd like to. So what we like to see the kids as soon as we can. If we don't, we're putting them at a greater risk for cavities. And unfortunately, I see kids who have come in at an older age and they have cavities that we have to deal with. It's much easier to prevent cavities than it is to treat them, and a lot more expensive to treat them.
Good. So let's talk about, you mentioned it a little bit before, but let's repeat it if we have to, because I believe in repetition. What can parents do at home to help prevent cavities?
Start the routine of every night, brushing, book, and bed. That's the routine. The reward is a book with a parent. But another thing you can add is flossing. Flossing is great to get things out from in between the teeth. People think of, well, we're not going to have a problem because they're giving them natural snacks, raisins, dried fruit, but they're all very concentrated sugars that are very sticky and they get caught in between the teeth. Flossing can get that out. One of the other side effects is I've noticed if you floss your kids' teeth, you'll tend to floss your own. And the kids see that and learn it's part of the routine, and getting parents healthier is a nice byproduct of getting that in. So starting on that and controlling the frequency of snacking can lead to lifetime benefits also.
Great. So I think you just mentioned a very important thing, which is modeling for your children, which is doing it yourself,
Yes.
having them watch, and then they'll be more accepting of doing it for them.
Exactly.
Good. So I understand there's a website where people can go to learn more. It's called mychildrensteeth.org. And I went there briefly and I saw, and this is a great thing to download or look at, is 5 ways to keep the mouth monsters away in 2025. So can you tell us more about what's on the website, Doctor?
Well, the website will also contain all the things I've referenced today with more detailed analysis of the fluoride and the fluoride studies and its safety. And I encourage people who are concerned to look at it and see what we're seeing. We're very open to research when it comes out, but I haven't seen anything that makes me concerned with the safety of fluoride at low concentrations.
So any other questions I should have asked that I haven't asked so far? What would you like to leave us with?
You know, one thing that I want to mention is that I've had parents come in and said, oh, we can't brush his teeth, you won't let us. Well, it becomes a safety issue. We have some parents who come in and say, well, I don't want to have them to have a bad experience, but they won't if they learn it's part of their routine from a young age. And you wouldn't, and I have some parents who will say, well, I don't want to have a bad experience. Well, a car seat is a safety issue, but I haven't had any say we're not going to put them in a car seat. And some kids don't like it at first, but they realize if I'm going to go anywhere, I need to be strapped in. So it's just one of those things that we learn that's part of taking care of ourselves.
Great. Good.
And you can model by using a seatbelt yourself.
Wonderful. Good. Thanks so much for being with us today to share this information. I know it's so important. I have 2 young grandchildren, and we're going through the whole teeth health, and I know what the drill is.
Okay, well, you know what? You don't sound old enough to have grandchildren. So get your grandchildren into your local pediatric dentist, and I think they'll have a great experience.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for being with us today. We've been talking with Dr. Scott Smith. He's the president of the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry, the nation's leading association of dental specialists committed to oral health for all children. And you can go to learn more at mychildrensteeth.org. Thanks again for being here with us, Doctor. It's been great to have you.
Oh, it's been a pleasure and a privilege to be with you. Thank you, Jonathan.
Good. All right, everybody. We'll see you again next time. And remember, as we say at the end of every show, go to health. Take care. God bless. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in this week to Go to Health Media. Be sure to join Jonathan Marks and another health expert next time. You can also catch the program on your favorite podcast platform. Until our next show, be sure to visit us on the web at gotohealthmedia.com and elevate your life.